The bird was busted. She buried her nose in no man's land a half-mile due west of where I went down. Wilson, the poor sap, didn't make it out. But that was his bad luck. I had more pressing problems.
What is up, guys? Yoshio here, and yes, this is the 75th anniversary of D-Day, and I will be talking to you about the play-by-play of the invasion of itself. First, we will be talking about the placement of all the troops during that time. There were 5 beaches: Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juneau, and Sword. The U.S. First Army took Utah and Omaha, and the coalition of the Canadian and British forces took Gold, Juneau, and Sword. Now, the troop layout is actually going to be very interesting. There were 129,710 troops that landed, 12,500 vehicles, 1,550 tanks, 23,400 airborne troops, 100 destroyers, sloops, and frigates, 500 cargo carriers, 3,500 troop carriers, 120 warships, 1,260 merchant vessels, 250 minesweepers, 600 specialist craft, 3,950 fighters, 670 gliders, 4,450 bombers, and 1,370 air transport vehicles, which are, quite frankly, the C-47 Skytrain. In total, the invasion troops were 153,110. The casualties were 14,000 troops, 6,330 ships, and 10,440 aircraft. What does that mean? Well, one thing's for certain. That's a lot of troops! And by today's standards, that's a lot. Imagine going against that in today's world. You would have you would be in a long haul against that fight. You'll be in there for a while.
Germans. Still, I had to get through to our side of the line before those guns started
now,
up again.
Let's talk about what landed first. Well, the airborne troops landed first, frankly. So, they were landed right past the beaches. However, the Germans had already flooded where the landing zones were. So some of the troops had drowned, which are actually the first few casualties of the invasion. In fact, they were landed before the invasion happened. So, technically, on the record, I'll say this on the record, they would technically be part of the casualties. And when the invasion actually happened, actually Omaha took a lot of casualties. I mean, every beach took a lot of casualties, but Omaha took a lot of it, like way more. Because the troops in Omaha were out in the open. Utah, well, they were technically not out in the open, but they had to climb. Which is worse? Climbing to your death or walking towards your death? Both are pretty bad, in my opinion. And Juneau Beach, where the Canadians took their landing forces in, they used German tanks, and they had 88mm, and Germans had 88mm guns on them on that beach. So, as you know, some of the tanks were knocked out. Well, luckily, this invasion was successful because there were plans for the Germans to reinforce them with Panthers and Tiger tanks. Luckily, they were diverted to a completely different location thanks to the art of deception. And how that happened was inflatable vehicles. You heard me, inflatable vehicles. And it was actually a very clever tactic during the time. In fact, this is one of my theories, that they still did it now. If we still did it now, that would probably be a very clever tactic. One of the coolest things about this invasion, because I like World War II. This is one of the personal things I've liked studying during high school into present day. Is because also one of the main reasons is the technological advances during that time. It was so rapid, in fact, that we ended up managing to crack codes that Germans and the Japanese were doing. So, pretty much, we can thank World War II for the technology we currently have now. And one of the things I'll point out that proves my theory, or my personal opinion, is actually some of the tanks and vehicles, and also aircraft, like the P-51 Mustang, the M4 Sherman, the German Tiger 1, the German Panther, which actually the German Panther came up with the auto rotation of the hull, which is insane because both tracks turn, but they turn in opposite directions. The Germans came up with that idea, so bear that in mind when you see like an Abrams tank, a Leopard 2,
trenches were packed full
or Challenger 2. You see them rotating idly,
most of them would be
but
looking
dual
for trouble
tracks
coming the
going
other
different
way.
directions,
Hopefully.
like the German Panther in World War II. And actually, some of the medical technological advances happened during that time as well. Okay, that was funny if you saw it. Alright, and one of the main things of advances of technology is actually firearms. I know, that's controversial, I know. But bear with me. The first ever successful semi-automatic rifle was the M1 Garand. It did not have a magazine, it had a clip. I know what you're asking me. What's the difference between a magazine and a clip? Well, a clip, it can hold rounds, but sometimes it comes out like a bolt-action rifle. Well, in this case, in a semi-rifle like the M1 Garand, it goes in with the it goes into the rifle with the rounds. And there's 8 rounds. After the last round spent, it comes out of the gun. And there's a notable sound you'll hear. If you look up M1 Garand ping on YouTube, you'll see it. It's a very distinct sound. And also, the magazine is its own thing. You load rounds into the magazine, and it's either loaded on the bottom, top, or side. And that was mostly World War II. The BAR, which was used in during World War I, transitioned to World War II, which is still used in World War II. That's a magazine, not a clip. Now, the coolest thing I've seen, and as far as my studies go in World War II, is how great the aircraft is. Here's another one. Here's another one. There you go. I try to find as much as funny things as I can do for you. Guys, TV? Okay, you're dead. Okay, sorry about that. I got a little distracted there. Now, if you take your time and study things that interest you, you'll find a lot of interesting information. Like World War II, for example. If you took your time and study, and don't listen to the mainstream, go to different sources. Don't just pay attention to the mainstream, because sometimes you'll find some discrepancies. So bear that in mind when you go studying. Go to different sources. Well, that is it for now, and I will hope next week that you'll watch the video of the T-72A, which will be next week. I just wanted to do this video because this is a very important day for me, because I love World War II and how technology has advanced throughout the time. So, and hopefully I'll see you guys next week.
Scheiße, ist das kaputt.
Woran denkst du gerade?
Hier geht's los. Ich brauche nur eine Pause.
dozen German machine guns at my back kinda encouraged me to keep my head down. No Man's Land was a maze of barbed wire, dead bodies, and debris. But I held my course. Did anything survive the crash that might be useful?
Wilson, we're in No Man's Land. We need to go now.
I can't get up.
Shit.
Hey, hey!
I'm sorry.
Well, you promised to get me back in one piece.
Just keep it down.
What about medals? What about being heroes?
I'm no hero.
But you gave me your word, your bleeding word. So either you're a decent bloke who's gonna help me, or you're a lying, no good bastard who'll look me in the eye and finish it. Ah! Come on! Which is it? Put your cards on the table, Blackburn. You're not George Rackham, are you? Son of the fourth bloody Earl of Windsor. How naive do you think I am? Ah!
Let's get out of here.
The guy was losing a lot of blood.
God almighty! Germans! No Man's Land. See him?
The Germans aren't really known for giving up. They did everything they could to catch us.
MGs are trained on them. They shoot anything. Germans. We're nearly home.
In front of us!
We made it!
Come on! Hurry! Hurry! Get over here! Cease fire! Get him in!
Wilson said I was a no-good, lying son of a bitch. I brought him home because I think he's probably right. And I hate that fact more than I can tell you.
Carried that man through no man's land? This guy's a bloody hero.
No, he's nothing of the sort. He's a cheat, a thief, and a liar. And he'll answer for his crimes. That's right, Blackburn.